Welcome to the Scholar's Chair. Our program is produced by Read One Communications, edited and hosted and produced by Khallil. Our focus is on an essay written by Iranian physicist and philosopher of science Mehdi Golshani, entitled Philosophy of Science from the Quranic Perspective. By science, here we mean the branch of knowledge that deals with the material world. The philosophy of science deals with all philosophical problems that arise in connection with science. Among its most important problems are: how does our knowledge of the physical world expand? What are the principles underlying scientific research? Here, we intend to discuss these two problems from the Quranic point of view. Epistemological problems from the Quranic viewpoint. From the Quranic point of view, there is a real world independent of our mind. The Quran states, "And in the earth there are signs for those who are sure, and in our own souls too. Will you not then see?" The Quran further states, "All praise is due to Allah, who created the heavens and the earth, and made the darkness and the light." Do they not consider the spiritual dimensions of the heavens and the earth, and whatever things Allah has created? Our author, Golshani, wrote, "And we are ordered to study the physical world to get closer to Allah through signs of nature, signs in nature, and to use the provisions He has made for us." The Quran states, "Consider what it is that is in the heavens and the earth, and in the signs and wonders do not avail a people who would not believe." The Quran further states, "Allah is He who raised the heavens without pillars that you can see, and He is firm in power, and that He made the sun and the moon subservient to you. Each one pursues its course of an appointed time. He regulates the affairs, making clear the signs that you may be certain of meeting your Lord. And He has made subservient for you the night and the day, and the sun and the moon, and the stars are made subservient by His commandment. Most surely there are signs in this for a people who ponder. And He it is who have made the ocean subservient, that you may eat fresh flesh from it, and bring forth from it ornaments which ye wear. And you see the ships clearing through it, and that you might seek of His bounty, and that you may give thanks." If the study of nature were not possible, the author writes, the Quran would not recommend us to study the origin and the course of evolution of beings and phenomena. Moreover, there are verses in the Quran that explicitly show this point. The Quran states, "We will soon show them our signs in the universe and in their own souls, so that it will become clear unto them that this revelation is indeed the truth." On the other hand, Golshani writes, the Quran is a book of guidance for all people and has not neglected anything relevant to the conduct of man's life. The Quran states that we have revealed the book to you, explaining clearly everything, and a guidance and mercy and good news for those who submit. The Quran continues, "We have not neglected anything in the book." Golshani wrote, "We therefore expect that through a careful study, one should be able to deduce from it the tools and prescriptions for studying nature." Tools for the cognition of nature. According to the Quran, the general tools for the study of nature are our senses and our intellect. The Holy Quran states, "And God has brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers. You did not know anything, and He gave you hearing and the sight and the heart." We learn through observation and experimentation back by reflection. The Quran states, "Say, travel on the earth and see how He made the first creation." The Quran continues, "Have they not traveled in the land so that they should have hearts with which to understand?" The first parts of these verses refer to observation and experimentation, and the second part to the use of the faculty of reasoning. Thus, experimental work is an indispensable tool for the understanding of nature. But contrary to what some schools of thought claim, not all our information about nature comes directly from sensations. If we confine ourselves to sensation and do not use our intellect, we are no better than animals. The Holy Quran says, "They have hearts with which they do not understand, and they have eyes with which they do not see, and they have ears with which they do not hear. They are as cattle, nay, they are in worse errors. Those are the heedless ones." Furthermore, the Quran frequently mentions that the perception of divine signs in nature is only possible for men of intellect and reflection. The Holy Quran says, "Most surely, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and day, there are signs for men who understand. Those who remember Allah, standing and sitting and lying on their sides, and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth." Most surely, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, the alternation of the night and the day, and the ships that run in the sea, with which profits men, and the water that Allah sends down from the cloud, then give life with it to the earth after its death, and spread in it all kinds of animals, and the changing of winds, and the clouds made subservient between the heaven and the earth. There are signs for a people who understand. Also, the Quran teaches us that there are many realities in the physical world that we do not perceive through our senses. The Quran says, "But nay, I swear by that which you see and that which you do not see." The Holy Quran states, "He created the heavens without pillars as you see them." Golshani wrote, "Finally, the Quran condemns those who think that their only sources of information about the physical world comes from sense perception. The followers of the book ask you to bring down to them a book from heaven. So indeed they demanded of Musa a greater thing than that. For they say, 'Show us Allah manifestly.' So the lightning overtook them on account of their injustice." Golshani wrote, "Unfortunately, the wind of positivism that blew in the early part of this century has affected many Muslim scholars' minds, and there are many Muslim scientists who think that our knowledge of the physical world extends no further than mere description of sensory experiences. Concerning this line of thought, we have the following observations. We never encounter nature with empty minds, and therefore there is no such thing as pure experimental data. Our interpretation of experimental data and even our view of reliability of the data depends on some extent upon preconceptions and assumptions that are held by the investigator. Planck explains this very point beautifully. Every measurement first acquires its meaning for physical science through the significance which a theory gives it. Anybody who is familiar with the precision laboratory will agree that even the finest, most direct measurements, such as those of weight and current, has to be corrected again and again before they can be employed for a particular purpose. It is obvious that these corrections cannot be suggested by the measurement process itself. We must first be discovered through the light which some theory or other throws into the situation. That is to say, they must arise from a hypothesis. As Einstein has rightfully pointed out, the fundamental concepts and postulates of science cannot be derived from sense experience by any process of induction. Rather, they are free inventions of the human mind. Physics constitutes a logical system of thought, which is a state of evolution, whose basis cannot be distilled, as it were, from experience by the inductive method, but can only be derived at by free invention. Justification, truth content of the system rests in the verification of the derived propositions by sense experiences. Thereby, the relations of the latter to the former can only be comprehended intuitively. Evolution is proceeding in the direction of increasing simplicity of the logical basis. In order further to approach this goal, we must resign ourselves to the fact that the logical basis depart more and more from the facts of experience, and that the path of our thought from the fundamental basis to these derived propositions correlate with sense experiences becomes continually harder and longer. The reason for this fact is that theory can be considered to be a direct result of the experiment if you can show that there can be no alternative explanation for that experiment. But this we can never claim, and past experience has warned us against this type of mistake. The agreement between a theory and a set of experimental facts does not necessarily mean that it is the correct one, because, logically speaking, a conclusion can be drawn from different premises. Thus, we can never claim that a theory is a direct result of experimental data. Definitely, many theories could be set up to explain a set of experimental facts. One has to add other assumptions and bring in other information to single out one of them. When Kepler was studying the data about the relative position of Mars against the backdrop of fixed stars, he tried to infer a good-looking law from available data, but he failed. Then, after working on the theory of ellipse in another context, he assumed that the orbit was an elliptical. He checked this assumption against the experimental data and found it to work well. Thus, the assumption of the elliptical orbit of Mars was not a direct result of the observed position of Mars. The growth of science is, therefore, due to both experimental work and theoretical speculations. Many concepts are not derivable from our sense experience. For example, the concept of causality is not derived from sensory impressions. All that we receive from our senses is that, for example, B comes regularly after A, that they are causal relationships between A and B is a judgment of our intellect. Even in the physical sciences, many concepts are not direct byproducts of observations and have been introduced by scientists to explain experimental facts. For example, we use the concept of the atom to explain thousands of experimental observations, yet no one has ever observed an atom, even with sense-extending instruments. We know atoms by inference. Simply, our information about distant regions of space and time is not direct. The conclusion we want to derive from this discussion is that experimentation alone without theoretical reasoning cannot give us significant information about nature. Even though observation and experimentation are a must for having a thorough picture of the physical world, not all of our knowledge about nature is derived from sensory experiences. The process of getting a correct picture of the physical world is a lengthy one and can be accomplished only through the interplay of experimental work and theoretical enterprise. Barriers against correct reasoning. As we mentioned, the Quran commands us to observe nature and reflect on what we observe. Reflection, in turns, involves using existing information and moving towards fresh knowledge. This intellectual movement, however, can lead to a correct result only if certain principles and rules are observed. Thus, we come to logic, which is the study of the principles of correct reasoning. The use of logical principles alone, however, cannot guarantee correct results unless we make sure that the premises used in the reasoning are flawless. It is for this reason that the Quran has warned us about those things that can prevent our intellect from functioning properly. Here we mention the main factors that prevent a correct cognition of nature. Number one, lack of faith. According to the Quran, knowledge without faith cannot lead one to a correct understanding of nature. The Quran declares, "Say, consider what it is that is in the heavens and the earth, and signs and warners do not avail people who will not believe." The principal role of faith in understanding is to restore man's faculty of intellect to its proper state. away from devilish inducements and temptations. Number 2, partiality in judgment, following one's desires, whether in love or hated, unjustifiable prejudices, and being pompous are the most important factors that prevent the faculty of intellect from impartiality and sound judgment. And the Quran states, "And if you follow their desires after the knowledge have come to you, you shall have no guardian from Allah, nor any helper." Certainly we have brought you the truth, but most of you are averse to the truth. And the Quran continues, "So when our clear signs came to them, they said, 'This is clear enchantment,' and they denied them unjustly and proudly, while their soul had been convinced of them." Number 3, blind imitation of ancestors and men of authority. And the Quran confirms, "And they shall say, Our Lord, truly we obeyed our leaders and our great men, so they led us astray from the path." The Quran continues, "Nay, we follow what we found our fathers upon. What, and though their fathers had no sense at all, nor did they follow the right way." Number 4, unreasonable negations and confirmations. One of the main sources of error in judgments is due to the replacement of knowledge by conjecture. The Quran is supportive, and they say no knowledge of it. They do not follow anything but conjecture, and truly conjecture does not avail against the truth at all. The author writes, "An important principle in scientific research is that one should not confirm or reject anything without reason." And the Quran confirms, "And follow not that which you have not the knowledge. Truly the hearing and the sight and the heart, all of these shall be questioned about that." Prior principles of scientific research. We mentioned that scientific research is the combination of experimental work and intellectual activity. In order to make the endeavor meaningful and guarantee that attainment of correct results, one has to assume certain principles prior to any kind of scientific activity. There has to be various views about the number and the interpretation of these principles. Using the Quran as our guide, we think that the addition to the basic principles of logic, for example, the principle of non-contradiction, the following are the principles that one can assume prior to the kind of scientific activity. The principles of monotheism, el-Tawhid. From the Quranic viewpoint, the study of nature should not be for the sake of satisfying one's own curiosity. Rather, it should be the cognition of the wise creator and governor of the universe. All natural beings are a sign of the Almighty, and any study of them should lead us to Him. Furthermore, there are many references in the Quran to the presence of order, harmony, and purpose in the physical world. And the Quran stated, "And who created everything, then ordained for it a measure." The Quran continues, "You see no incongruency in the creation of the Beneficent. Then look again. Can you see any disorder?" The Quran continues, "And we did not create the heavens and the earth and what is between them in sport, We did not create them both, but with the truth, but most of them do not know. And the scholars wrote, the cosmic order and coordination is attributed to the creator and the coordinator of the universe. The Quran continues, if there had been any of them in the heavens and the earth, any gods except Allah, they would have both have certainly been in a state of disorder. Quran states, it is He who have made the sun a radiance and the moon a light, and ordained for it mansions, that you might know the number of the years and the reckoning. Allah did not create that, save with the truth. A firm belief in the principle of monotheism causes the research scholar to cast a comprehensive look at nature as a whole rather than while the isolated pieces, and enables him to explain the harmony and order present in the physical world. On the other hand, without a firm belief in the presence of harmony and order, cooperation in nature, scientific research will not have any universal significance, and at the most will have a temporary value only. There are some scientists who believe in the presence of order and cooperation in nature without believing in or paying attention to the principle of monotheism. But, in our view, without belief in El-Tawhid, there is no satisfactory explanation for cosmic order. The reality of the external world. As we mentioned earlier, from the Quranic standpoint, there is a real external world independent of the perceiving subject. The Quran states, and Allah has brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers, and you did not know anything, and He gave you hearing, sight, and minds. He who made the earth a resting place for you, and made in it ways for you that you may go aright. And He who created pairs of all things, and made for you of the ships and the cattle what ye ride on. The author writes, the belief in an objective world is the basis of all physical and natural sciences, and without it, any scientific endeavor would be only a play or idle sport. This belief has always been one of the strongest motivations for the activity of scientists. Blank expresses this point beautifully. He wrote, the closest and most original minds, men like Kepler, Newton, and others, were inspired by the belief in the reality of the external world and in the rule of a higher reason in and beyond it. Limitations of human knowledge. We learn from the Quran that human knowledge is limited. And you are not given aught of knowledge, but a little, the Quran says. That there are many things that your sensory organs do not perceive. The Quran says that I swear by what you see and what you do not see. The Quran continues, Allah is He who raised the heavens without any pillars that you see.